Reminds me. I'm going to turn on my do not disturb, Cormac. I don't want any alarms going off while I'm talking to you here. I need full. I'm with
Full
you.
attention. Is that what you're looking for?
Full attention. Thank you.
Full focus. Full do not disturb mode.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So yeah, I've been through like all of this, redoing everything in the office, rearranging everything. I still am at the point, not to the point where I'm going to be doing the full purge of stuff. Like I still am just rearranging, but for like the last year and a half, I've been, letting my subconscious work on what the space is going to look like. And so I've been buying things as they're on sale and stashing them in the garage. And then it was like, finally, okay, I had a few days off. I didn't have any recordings. We haven't talked. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you too.
And so then I'm like, well, I just need to do this. I need to start off the year with a new studio setup. So, and as you can tell, it looks way different, right?
It does. Like, I mean, the black looks blacker.
It's in true architect style. Yeah,
exactly. I've used my spring colors, gray.
Did you get that
gray.
for Christmas? Did you get some charcoal in your stocking?
I got a couple of cans of charcoal paint that, funny enough, my wife is downstairs getting ready to apply to the dining room.
Oh, really? You're going to paint it black, as the Rolling Stones say.
It's not going to be. It's sort of along the lines of this color of my sweater. It's not a true black or anything. But it is. We decided we were going to go bold.
Okay.
And although I could not convince her to paint the ceiling as well, and if we go like full bold, like a lot of.
Is that what it is? Is black bold? Is charcoal bold?
Well, this is. I mean, it's a bold color.
That's why architects wear black, right? They're bold.
Yes, yeah. And once they're done painting, I can in the sweater that I'm wearing right now, I can lean up against the thing and disappear. It'll just be a head sitting there floating.
I've been like that a few times in here. I'm wearing like a black shirt, and all you can see is a floating head.
It's me.
So you have a keen eye because you're an architect, but my lighting is actually swapped. So my main light's over here now. The fill light's over there now. So obviously you already knew that though. So big change.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, the way that for me, screen wise, your right side is glowing much more.
Right.
You're glowing, Evan.
That's just my new me glow that you're seeing.
There you go. Yeah. 2 years, I guess it's 2.5 years in, and we still have that big laundry list of things of each room. And
dude, there's a list on the side of our refrigerator, and we had some people over, and they just started reading the things out loud, and I'm just like, please stop.
You're like, yeah, I know.
So this is one of the things on the list, is this office, which
I got for Christmas a 22-foot ladder. So apparently that means I have some things to do up high.
Did it come with an insurance policy?
Yeah, well, no. It was one of those ones with the flared bottoms, flared tops and stuff. So
you got your bell bottom ladder.
I'm pretty sure you remember that I am not the fan of heights.
Yeah, that's true. So somebody else bought a ladder for you just to force you into the, now that you've got the ladder, you can't say no.
Well, I bought the ladder because
you bought it for yourself for Christmas.
Yes. Well, it was because this year last year I borrowed the neighbor's ladder. The neighbor was out of town this year, and so I couldn't borrow their ladder.
It's great when you have a neighbor with stuff. You don't need to buy it too. Jeez.
Couldn't put up all of the Christmas lights the way I wanted to, and so I was just like, I just need to go ahead and bite the bullet and get the ladder.
Have you heard about these? I mean, I'm sure you have these Christmas light installation services these people do. And I heard on another podcast that they were multiple thousands of dollars, at least in the location where where this person was. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a pretty lucrative business, better than architecture.
So we've got those services around here, and big houses out overlooking the lake, and you can clearly drive past them and see that those are the couple, probably tens of thousands in there's this one tree.
Every season, $10,000. Could you imagine spending that to get
We
lights
actually have
applied?
I honestly wish that I could show you this guy on the corner, not in our direct neighborhood, but there's a guy who his house is overlooking the lake, and he puts up lights. And now we're not talking about, this is no like half measures. This is full on, full bore for 4th of July, for Halloween, for Christmas. And
wow,
we're talking
a different setup each
setup.
time. Wow.
And not a small house and not a small display. It is a massive display and a lot of lights. We're talking, actually, my daughter, as we were driving past it to see the Christmas extravaganza that he had out, she had said that puts Clark Griswold to shame. She was like, that's the house that Clark Griswold wishes he had.
Oh man, and that your daughter knows who Clark Griswold is pretty triumphant of on your behalf. That's
and
cool.
Uses it in a sentence that
correct context.
In proper context, yes.
Man, there's so many good one-liners from that movie that we just can't say on this podcast.
Yep. Something's full.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening knows exactly what we just said.
What do you got there? What's your beverage of choice today?
Water with ice.
I got myself some ice, but I have fizzy water, and I have a lemon in there too.
Ooh,
look at that little pop of color. I got my fancy water. I got my fancy water.
I do have.
It's like a party in your mouth, Cormac.
I do have lemon in mine because I just want to keep scurvy away.
Because it's a threat. Imminent threat over there at the
never know.
household.
You never know.
So should I do the reveal? Do you want to see the new background? It's not like I've always felt a little jealous of your fancy background. You got propaganda wall. You've got fancy cameras hanging back there because they're hanging up because you don't use them. You got artwork. What else you got? What else you got back there?
AIA awards.
Look at you. Award-winning architect. Yet another award-winning architect.
Yes.
And you've got like your the crazy hair and the thick rimmed glasses and the really dark turtleneck. And then you've got don't you have like all your conference badges, which is just like, you're definitely a hoarder.
That is level. All this one right here is
can't hear you. You got to get your proper mic technique there. You got to aim there you go.
I'm going to lean back here, and all of these, for some reason, my autofocus is not working right now, but all of these are all of my my bling, my flair from all of the multiple conferences that you and I go to on a yearly basis.
Nice. And then I've just got the, like you said, like architect black background. It's distraction free. I'm about to change that though.
Are you?
I'm going to change that. I was going to go with like an off angle background, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it work in here yet. Maybe it's just a yet thing. Maybe this will go through another revision at some point here, but all right. You're going to have to play the Jeopardy music while I do the reveal.
There he goes. Keep on going. Nice. And now my jealousy ensues.
Hey, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That looks pretty good. I got some symmetry going on here. I got to sit in just the right spot,
If you dropped your seat a little, or Mm.
Hey guys, I'm down here.
Well, I was gonna say, or if you go up just a hair,
Yeah.
because like right now,
But see, then I can't
you-
have I can't have the top of my head hitting the frame. There we go. That's pretty good. I
so
can hide
if
that guitar.
so no, if you go down just a little bit, then the whatever
Oh yeah,
parts
there's
of
my cat ears. Look at that.
there you go, exactly, or devil horns.
Devil horns.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out. Now I'm very aware of that. Before this was all just a white wall, and that's why that black background has always been covering it, because it's a hard surface. So I put up this acoustic slat wall paneling, and put up some guitar hangers, and
You
put things up on the wall. Put my art up on the wall.
nice.
Yeah.
And I see, is that a bass? And
So let's see here. Yeah, I've got this one. This is the bass I played in System Kid right here.
awesome.
That's a PV Cirrus bass, 5-string bass. On this side of me over here is a Fender P bass. That one is newer. And then I've got my old 89 Les Paul that I have had since I was in high school. And
Nice.
this one right here in the middle that I'm kind of blocking with my head. I'll do the Cormac Phelan. That's a 1961 Gibson ES330. So that's a
Nice.
pretty fancy hollow body guitar. Then there's other stuff on the there's a few more guitars on this wall over here that you can't see, but my original plan was to go off into this corner here that I'm flagging with my hand toward, but like I said, maybe someday in the future I'll make that work.
I like this. Love
Yeah,
it.
it looks good.
Ooh,
Right?
you can also see over my shoulder, seeing how we're talking about tools of the trade. What is that?
Yeah, is
It's
that a
blurry.
T-square back there?
It is a T-square.
Nice. We actually found a T-square somewhere in the house. It's in the garage now.
Hiding behind my Eames Lounger.
Oh, fancy. All right. As good as it's going to get for now. So yeah, I've been working my ass off in here. So it's a good thing you didn't talk to me like a week ago, I guess, right at the end of the year. Because I was grumpy.
Angry. Yeah.
I was grumpy. And not because of this project. This project actually helped me work through my issues. I did a 3-day, my wife and I both, we did a 3-day fast to finish the year off. Have you ever done a fast?
Yeah. But did you do one where it was 3 full days, nothing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just 3 days of
that's like
water fast.
A detox.
Yeah, exactly.
So
finish the year strong.
I'm on so I'm on day 3 of no caffeine. Hence the water.
Look at you. How's your head? You're raging?
I'm
Dude,
glad
my
we
head
did
hurt.
I'm glad
My
we
head
did record
hurt
yesterday.
so bad. My head hurt so bad that second day. I just had like a 15-hour long headache, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is terrible."
Yeah. I had base in my neck. It was just like, it wasn't fun. So I had apologized in advance, and she's like, "Wait, I didn't even realize you were doing this." I'm like, "Yep, nope." Like, and I didn't fast like full. I'm now kind of back on my, I won't eat till about 10:30, 11, and then I'll stop eating at 6.
So you're doing like what do they call intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I normally do intermittent fasting, but 72 hours is a different beast, man. Holy crap.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of this potato cleanse?
I have heard of, I've heard of like potato. My wife did that.
I did it too.
She's done a potato one, she's done an apple one, and then she did a water fast for 20 days once when we were in Southern California.
No, that's 20 days of nothing but water.
Right.
Yeah. That's like,
it was 20 days of sadness. That's what it was.
I was going to say, how would you even remotely?
It was seriously bad. I mean, she was just pathetic to be around. I felt bad for her, for sure.
Obviously, this isn't going to be in the show.
She doesn't listen. It's
Yeah.
but yeah, it was rough. It was rough for her, obviously rough
Yeah.
for her. But so yeah, 3 days. She wants to do this 3-day thing every month, and I'm like, I don't know about that. It was pretty hard. Like, and the hardest part actually was the third day, the second night, third day, where your body's just aching really bad because you're detoxing. That stuff's actually getting out of the muscles, and that was probably the most discomforting part about it. Was uncomfortable part about it. It was really bad.
Did you feel kind of lethargic?
I didn't, and I also did not feel hungry at all. Like the whole time, she was really hungry, and she's like, "I'm starving," and I was like, the headache is killing me, and I was busy working on this space the whole time. So I wasn't working fast for sure. I wasn't working at my normal pace, but it was like, it was fine. I had the time, and I didn't need to go fast anyway. But so I was operating power tools and such, and playing with electrical. But I have to say, like the worst part was at night. That second night going into the third day of just like the aches. It was just, yeah. So, I mean, I think the fast did its job. It did I think it serves a purpose. It's really good on a number of levels, but it's not easy. Yeah. We've conditioned ourselves 3 meals a day and all this stuff.
Yeah. And mine was going into the end of the year, just kind of like the race for things, a lot of caffeine, just getting kind of a lot of heartburn, a lot of like just actually chest pains. I'm like, you know what? I would like to really live through this. And so I was just like, all right. And I woke up and I'm like, it's got to be cold turkey. Now I don't know if like the coffee's gonna, like, for now it's just detoxing it out, but also detoxing. Like, I fell back on the wagon for soda. It was like, for a long time I wasn't drinking soda, and then I gateway drugged that into like, having a lot more soda and stuff. And so I was just like, now I've gotta get all this stuff out of here. I mean, listen to people way too many people my age, since I am a little older than you.
You're my senior. Yes,
I am. Just having health issues. I mean, somebody that that I know, try not to give away any or anything like that, but like, their wife, younger than me, maybe 2 years older than you, but younger than me. And she had like a massive heart attack. She thankfully lived. But it was just one of these things. It's just like, and it happened while she was at the gym.
Oh, so, wow. Bummer.
You're just
trying to do something right.
Trying to do something right. And body said, well, I've got other plans. And so, this isn't the only person that, of my age that I've heard having massive heart attacks. And I'm just like, I mean, it doesn't run in our family, but here I am, like, pounding caffeine like it's nobody's business, freebasing it.
I mean, caffeine is literally a drug that was designed to, quote unquote, make people more, I mean, it wasn't designed for this, but it's been used in the way of just making, corporate America has instituted
more
it as
compliant.
As an IV for productivity, right? I mean, it's like, it really changed things in the 50s, right? When it came on the scene in business. Because before that, it wasn't like there was a coffee pot on all the time everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Think about like some of the perks that firms are actually, and your old firm was one of them. And in fact, actually, it was one of the first ones that I saw. And then you and I went and visited a firm in New York City when we were there. And
right.
They've got like a coffee, like cold brew coffee tap and all of these other things. And everybody's looking for these perks to keep us caffeinated, to keep us compliant. We will work. We will click faster.
Work harder, click more faster. Right.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't blame you for wanting to stay away from that for a while. It's good to reset. And like your adrenals are just going to be completely fried if you don't. And then you're setting yourself up for long-term pain. adverse effects for sure.
Yeah. And you know that I don't drink coffee like you do, whereas you
How's
mostly
that?
drink it black. I use it with heavy cream, heavy sugar, and stuff like that, which is, not good in its own right. So, there's that, all of that, just kind of like detoxing of all of that too.
Yeah. Right.
And trying to get like I don't know if I have a blood sugar going on, but I can only imagine with as much coffee as I was drinking, with as much sweetener in it as I was drinking, that, it didn't help.
And a lot of those sweeteners are just infused with crazy chemicals, like those Coffee Mate liquid hazelnuts and vanillas and chemical. Exactly.
Having
there's
the
a lot of
conversation
stuff in those.
Yeah, having the conversation with my daughter that the need for eating clean is what we should be looking at. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like overall change your diet, other than the fact that if it looks like a chemistry set on the back of the package, then it's probably not something that you should put in your body.
Let's take a short break from the conversation to tell you about today's sponsor. Not long ago, we started hearing about a company helping firm owners build effective remote teams. When we looked into it, we found World Teams, a company that specializes in helping smaller architectural practices set up skilled and reliable remote teams. What struck us most was how they're addressing a critical challenge for small architecture firms: the need to scale teams up or down as workloads change. It's a great way to handle busier periods without the overhead of permanent hires, keeping labor costs manageable. World Teams is designed with this flexibility in mind. They're a lean, high-impact company that connects architecture firms with talented remote professionals, saving the hassle of endless resumes and interviews. Plus, they operate within your time zone and prioritize near-native English speakers, ensuring clear and effective communication with your team members. Their flexible contracts allow firms to adjust team sizes as project demands change. You'll be connected directly with these skilled professionals, building trust and collaboration while reducing operating costs without sacrificing quality, a win for any practice looking to expand intelligently. If you want to hear more about World Teams and how they can help your firm grow, visit worldteams.com/hire-top-talent. That's worldteams.com/hire-top-talent, or you can click the link that we've provided in the show notes. So once again, follow the link in the show notes or go to worldteams.com/hire-top-talent. Thank you to World Teams for helping make this episode possible. And now, back to the conversation.
Well, so what's going on architecturally? I think you've had your final reviews and did your grading. I'm sure you had a lovely holiday getting all your grading done. And I always hated that part of teaching. It's just like you already had a huge crunch time working in the office at the end of the year. And then you also decided to teach last semester. And I'm sure there was a bit of a learning curve to that whole process. Like, can you talk about what you had to go through at the end there?
Oh yeah, total learning curve. Because one of the interesting things is, and I don't know if it came on the heels of having to do a handful. I had to do a handful of staff annual assessments, and so I was already doing grading on a professional level anyway. So then I also had to do this for the students, and what was really tough was the fact that, and I think I talked to you about this, that it was a group project, and there was a lot of students who were overworking themselves. And there were some students that weren't working as hard. And so, it's just like, how do you give a balanced grade to the overall group project, but also then recognize that some people did work more than other people did, and trying to, make it fair to the people who did a lot more work to try to do that. And so it was kind of interesting to go through that. Basically had a handful of notes that I took throughout the semester, but also throughout the presentation and observations that I made, to try to work almost like in a way, coming off of doing these annual reviews for the students, sort of actually helped me out, because here I am for professionals. I was writing reviews, and a lot of them were, they're project architects. And so I decided to do something completely different this year in the way that I did the review. And what I did was I basically said, okay, here is like the published standards of roles and responsibilities for a project architect at our firm. And here's how I'm going to review your performance throughout the year based off of that. And some people I told in advance that this was how it was going to happen, and some I didn't, because I was assigned them a little bit later. But what was good about that is I could take kind of like this very published metrics. This is the minimum. I kind of call them like, this is the code minimum of what you need to do to be a project architect. And what I did was I said, okay, here's where your strengths are. Here's where you need improvement. It wasn't strengths and weaknesses, kind of like, because we did have to do it as have you ever done those SWOT assessments? Okay. So, and that was how I was supposed to do it. But what I wanted to do was do it a little bit differently, where don't frame it as weaknesses, but frame it as areas of improvement, and basically talk to them about how they can improve, what we as a team need to do, not just, it's like, okay, here's what you're not doing, and go ahead and try to figure out how to do it. Nope, that's wrong. As I've been teaching, I've been learning that if I'm not very clear on the explanation of what I want somebody to do, if they've never done it before, how do I expect them to succeed at doing it? And so I was like, I have to be fair to them. And this is a way for us to somewhat start over and say, hey, okay, here's what your roles and responsibilities are supposed to be. Here's what you're doing really, really well. Here's what you're not. But it's not, your fault. It's ours. We need to plan a little bit better on how we give you more experience, so that you can work harder to master that. Because ultimately what you want to do is you want to grow, become a stronger architect, to become a project manager or a principal or whatever it is that you have aspirations for. But this is basically setting the foundations for the basics of what you really should know as an architect. And so that was sort of how I came at it when I was looking at the team. I was like, overall, the team project, strong, thinking about it as the ways clients don't care how a project gets done. They just want it done, right? And so if there's some people on your team, and this even, like I was even trying to explain to them, this happens in the professional world as much as it happens in school. Like there may be people who are not pulling their weight. It doesn't matter to the client. You still have to get that project done. And so there are people who at the end of the year will probably get rewarded with possibly a bonus or a better raise or something like that.
Possibly,
or a little pat on the back, attaboy, whatever. But
Starbucks gift card.
That Friday afternoon pizza party.
Right.
But what it helped me in looking at students a little bit more critically, instead of just saying, oh, well, you're a student, I don't really expect you to know all of this stuff. I looked at it as like, no, what I expect is that your active engagement in class, you being an active participant, because it is a team, and the way that we broke it up with the team chemistry is that each student had done some and I explained this before, but they did previous research, and all of those essentially became the subject matter experts, whether it was, construction or code or accessibility or other things. And so then we mixed them up and put them together in a team. And so, you look at it as like, okay, how did that person contribute to the success of this final project based off of what they had already learned, but then how did they grow from other people? And it was an interesting way to look at it for me. And I tried, and I don't know if it sunk into everyone, but what I tried to do is explain to them that this is how you will be working for the rest of your career, is in a team, in a collaboration, whether it's as a sole practitioner with engineers and your clients, or as on a larger team where you've got other project architects that you're working with, project managers, project principals in charge, those kind of things, that you're always going to be working in some form of collaboration. So this is the time to learn how to start collaborating and working, because some people this is their senior year of their 4 years, not of their 5 or 6 years, but this is their senior year. And so this is closer and closer to that end goal of being able to graduate and go to college. Graduate and go to work. And this is the opportunity to learn how to work. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times, how many times have you had fresh graduates or something like that might have been their very first job ever? Or, they just worked on solo projects in school and never really worked on group projects or learned how to collaborate. And it was a struggle for, there's a handful of folks that I can remember that I've dealt with in the past that they struggled to work on a team or work together with other people because they didn't think that this is what architecture was about. Seriously?
Or they hated it. They hated it in school. Right? And so they're automatically kind of opposed to that style of work and asking questions, and they just go off and hole up in the corner.
And there was a student who made it very known to me specifically that absolutely hated group projects, didn't understand why we were doing it, thought it was a waste of his time. And because of how he feels like he's going to be practicing in the future, wasn't necessary. And that was where I made the disclaimer. I'm like, even if you decide to become a sole practitioner, you are still going to be reliant on working and collaborating with others. If not, you're not really going to be working much longer. You're going to need to figure out something.
Well, I mean, there definitely is. We don't know what the future of practice is like. I mean, you're very much talking about a now situation, right? Working in teams, collaborating with people. I mean, that it doesn't seem like that's going to change, but we don't know, right? And so, even if they're right, like maybe they are right, it doesn't matter. Like that's how it is now. And you're telling me you're a year away from graduation and you don't think that you're ever going to be working like this? Like that's pretty short-sighted, I think.
Well, I mean, if you also think about it, I mean, one of the things that it's just the very basics of working with a client, how you work with a client. If you come into it with this level of arrogance, they're not going to be your client much longer. I can go and find somebody else that's going to be a little bit more stress-free. I mean, unless you're bringing some like amazing amount of talent that they're just like, I've got to have Evan as my architect, and I'll deal with his nonsense just because I'm going to have him designing my stuff. But you see what I'm saying is like, I mean, there's
totally.
Yeah. And I know that he's a talented kid. He's smart. He's bright. He's sharp. He has not had anyone tell him no. And I think that also he hasn't worked in a scenario where the collaboration is a thing. And once he does that, it's either going to be killed kind of thing. But I think that he's sharp enough that he'll get it. But I just think it's just one of these things that it was so very short-sighted of him to just say group projects don't make much sense. And why are we doing this? Because I'm not going to work in a group in the future. Like, whoa. Well,
the first part he might be totally right about, right? I mean, in his experience, I mean, I think most of us have experienced group projects where they're just absolutely terrible. And usually that's under kind of this forced collaboration situation, right? It's not like you're not leveraging collaboration for the best outcomes. You're being forced to do it because it's a group project, quote unquote.
Well, so let me ask you this question. So in I know our worlds are very similar when you were practicing at a large firm, that not all the time did you have the choice of who was on your team. Not all the time did you ever have the choice of what engineers that you were going to be dealing with and stuff. Right. And so you, as a project designer, project architect, or project manager, needed to learn how to deal with all of them. And he completely very political, very kind of, here's how we've got to figure this out. We're all on this adventure together. and we need to figure it out together, no matter what this dynamic between us is, we have to work together because this is our charge.
Yeah, I mean, on some levels, that also is still a forced collaboration.
Absolutely.
And I mean, especially under with the way that you're presenting it, which I think is typical, right? It's like in my position, I didn't get to pick the consultants. I definitely didn't pick the client, right? I probably didn't pick my own team members. And they're. But at the same time, like you have to be able to rely on everybody to be a professional and actually do their part. Yes. Because you probably, like in a consultant's realm, like I can't do their part for them. Or in an educational, I think a lot of times in this, and my daughter-in-law is a grad student, and she has talked about nightmare group projects that she was even doing last quarter, and just grad student level. Not lifting a finger to help their teammates. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me, but I've also been in that situation, right? Where I'm like, oh crap, now I have to do 2 or 3 or 4 people's worth of work because my grade depends on it. The professional setting is, I can't do my structural engineer's work. I can't do my HVAC engineer's work, right? Right. There's certain things that you have, and they're getting paid, which is maybe different than a grade, but maybe not. I don't know. It just seems kind of crazy though, right? Where it's like there definitely are people who do not perform, and like you're talking about this being just the way that it is. Like every project is a team sport, and yet there are still people in the professional workplace who don't perform. And and then what do? You have to find somebody to fill their shoes. You have to fire them. You have to find a new consultant. Employees leave, you got to fill those holes, all of these speed bumps and roadblocks along the way of project delivery.
I remember on probably a couple of months ago, we went on an interview, and one of the things that the client had talked about was that in the past they've fired consultants, they fired architects, because of lack of performance, lack of understanding on how some of the process works and all of that other stuff. So if a client is ready and willing to fire an architect at any given time for lack of performance, then the architect themselves should not expect any less than the top performance for their project. That's just what you have to do. And in a way, I mean, if you think about it, like our health, safety, and welfare kind of, charge that we have to do almost demands that you bring your A game regardless. And, so it, I've been having this conversation a lot with a lot of people of just talking about how we get more improvement out of people, out of underperformers. The biggest question is as well, did you, were you clear on your instructions to what you wanted them to do? Are they new to the profession? They're new to the firm? Things that you've heard me say about how the responsibility does fall on them to a point, but the responsibility does fall on the leadership as well. Because if the leadership isn't clear on expectations from the jump, you're never going to meet the expectations. If you keep the expectations in your head, you're like, oh, Evan's just not performing the way that I really hoped that he would. And if I've never had a conversation with you on what my expectations of performance are, then I'm going to get what I get. And, I've had this conversation a lot.
Of course. Yeah. So I'm curious what the student thought they were going to achieve by telling you how much they didn't need to or disliked group projects. Did they think they were going to get kind of a buy?
I think
okay, you don't have to do it.
I think it was, to set the stage, it was some inner group tensions that were going on, and it was just coming to a head, and I didn't recognize what was going on at the time. And I think I might have even kind of fueled it a little bit by just pressing them a little bit harder on what everybody's role was. Just kind of, there was a lot of outbursts. In fact, I talked with our friend of the show, Kurt, who I was co-teaching with. I said, I think you might need to clean up a mess that I just made. And it wasn't, and I don't think it wasn't me. It was just, I happened to be the bystander that kind of was pushing them to kind of make decisions that I don't think that they were ready to make, only because they were so disorganized. And so I kept kind of like stressing them out about the fact that they have so little time to get it done. And so
little bit of extra pressure.
Yeah, my little extra pressure
forced the situation to crack. Yeah,
exactly. I think I just turned the heat up a little bit higher and sort of freaked them all out, and he just cracked a little. But what was interesting, though, is because of the way that this school is structured as a technological school, there is certain expectations of knowledge that they're supposed to have above and beyond kind of some of the standard architecture schools, because you're almost creating practitioners out of them and giving them a level of understanding on how practice works. And I hate to say it more so than other standard architecture schools, but if you think about like your school or my school, where there was a lot of theory, there isn't as much theory here. There is theory. Let me restate that. There is plenty of theory, but there is also this onus of having to be more in touch with like nuts and bolts of architecture. And so I'm not saying that they're just creating like the technical architect, but they are expecting some level of technical understanding. And so there you have all of that pressure too, because you hear their final project is, and I was blown away by some of the amazing work that they pulled together. Some of the models, if I can get some photographs of some before we publish, I will put them in the show notes. But some of the models that they created, it's just, I'm thinking to myself, how much did you bleed on these? They're like, oh, I just laser cut it stuff. But it was just like some of the quality of the work that they pulled together was pretty amazing. And if they still were to do things like that, once they start gaining more and more knowledge of like systems and everything else, these models are going to be even better if they continue to do things like that. And they're going to be even more informative to the client as well. I mean, they did these great like section, quarter scale section models where it basically looked like a wall section. And so they kind of cut through it, and a few of them took it kind of like way above and beyond and 3D printed bricks and poured concrete. But when you looked at the section it looked like a wall section, and it was amazing, the quality of the work that they were doing. And we did the same thing, but at a much slower pace and probably not, I don't know how well it looked, but I mean, it was just they used actual insulation. They did a lot of things that it looked amazing.
How do you go to Home Depot and just buy a little bit of insulation? Like you got to buy the whole giant bundle, and then you just take a little piece out of it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few that you could tell by the quality of the work that was produced which teams worked better as a team and which teams did not, just based off of what you actually got in the presentation. That final presentation, there were some that were lacking information, they were lacking clarity, they were lacking kind of like a full resolution. And then there were some that you're just like, yeah, I mean, this could legitimately be built. When you've thought through everything, and it's a well-designed thing. And the way that they gave the presentation, and they were talking, and each person had a role to talk through, and you could clearly see how their impact on the project was. I was like, there's the teams that shined. I kind of put it in a bucket of three. It was like the ones that worked fantastically together, the ones that were going to do a good project in spite of themselves. And then there's those that sort of did not do, even though there was people who were working hard on the project, didn't do very well. And it was kind of unfortunate that in cases like that, where teams teammates suffered from other people not pulling their weight in the project and stuff. And if you think about that, the way that we do ours is the same thing. You will get that same type of, if the project team is clicking, you're going to have a great project. Everybody's going to feel good about it. I mean, I was talking to somebody today and they were like, I have struggled with this project because this or that. And I was just talking about, like, I went back to the team makeup and how is the team makeup and how is the communication with the team? Yeah, because that usually is the root cause, right? Like if people are talking to us like, hey, oh man, I really expected Evan was going to do this. Like, well, did you tell Evan that he was going to do it? No. Well, then how the hell do you expect him to do it? Those kind of things.
Wishful thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, team dynamics are difficult, and it's interesting to me that like you have to kind of, I hate to say it this way, but pay your dues to like gain the experience with those people to learn strengths and weaknesses and all of those things. Like that, those things they're not traits that people wear on a billboard that floats above them and tells everybody around them so that you can accomplish this thing. It's like you have to try different configurations. You have to try it under different types of pressure, under different circumstances, with different clients. And like all of these things are just constantly evolving. And I mean, that's also kind of what sucks about architectural projects too, is like repeatability is not a thing, right? Like you don't have the same client, you don't have the same project, you don't have the same team, you don't have the same building code, you don't have all of these things. Like every time it's kind of a different version of a similar thing, but it is different, right? And so I think part of that is like the students who were on a really great team, and you could tell like the next time, like they're going to want to be on the team with those teammates. And I hope they're not, right? Because you have to go through all of the versions of this to truly understand it, so that you can ultimately learn how to figure out and leverage people's strengths and avoid their weaknesses completely. Because that's really what makes a team work, is like where somebody who loves to do what you hate to do can do that thing well. And then you're both better off because of it, right? Like everybody's doing their part, their role.
Exactly. And that's where the evolution of kind of like the strengths and weaknesses comes from, and understanding how to deal with them, how to roll through and become better. And you also like, I mean, sometimes when projects fail, that's sort of when you learn how to manage projects better, or is this, I would do this a little bit differently, right?
Sure.
And when you get your opportunity, it's just like, I remember this was something that happened, and
I hope so.
I'm now going to, so yeah.
So at the end of this, you mentioned something about reviews. And so I'm just curious, like peer reviews, I think you said that they had to do, right?
Yes.
And we have to do these in corporate America as well, right? It's like, and maybe you don't review other people, but you do review yourself. And there's like a certain level of BS that you see in these reviews, right? So I'm curious if the students repeated that same behavior that we see in corporate America.
Yes.
I'm the best.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if you knew this, but I'm the best.
And what's interesting is that there were some teams that I kind of, like I said, the three buckets. And it was interesting is some of the most vocal ones were the ones that struggled with their team dynamic, their team communication, the inner workings. And when the project showed, person went on the defensive of themselves. And it was just like, well, I did my part, but Evan didn't do his part. And then Evan's like, well, I did my part, but Cormac didn't do his
Throw him
part.
under the bus.
And there was some interestingly, like, very kind of like, I don't know, I'm hesitant to say vicious, but there were some like vicious attacks on each other. And there were some interestingly inaccuracies, because I was thinking to myself, wow, you think more highly of yourself than what we saw, what you were able to do. And so,
yeah, I kind of chalk that up to like playing the game, right? On some level of this, it is a game, right? I think it's curious that you guys chose I don't know if it's a requirement or not, or if this was a choice actually, now that I say that, but to do these kind of peer reviews is kind of an interesting choice. I mean, and in a team, it doesn't not make sense when you're doing a team project, right? Because you can't see everything. Like, it's not completely transparent to you as the professors. I'm sure a lot of crap went down that people wish that you saw. And then there's a lot of stuff that people were really hoping you wouldn't see, right? So, so there's all of that. So I just find it's kind of interesting. And because you're always going to get this level of playing the game, which is like, man, I'm awesome.
But the one thing that I hope comes out of this, and this is one thing that I sort of, unfortunately, because of the way that just the end of the year happened and everything else, we almost couldn't do an after action review with them, as to say, here was the learning objective, and here's how you either successfully navigated it or kind of faltered a little, and here's what you can do better next time, and just try to tell whether they're the strong team or the weak team what they can do better, not just as an individual, but as a team, to be able to kind of like lift each other up and actually like, work together and have those kind of communication or clarity.
Maybe at the beginning of next semester, you need to like have this whole preamble. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
honestly,
here's how it's going to go. Here's how it's going to go down. And you read some anonymous, maybe you even embellish them a little bit, or you redact different pieces of it. But it's like, here's what you're going to say about this person at the end, and you read it, and then you say, and here's what this person's going to say about this, and then you're going to say, and here I am, and I know I got to witness the entire number of weeks, and I know what happened, but then I get this stuff, and like the goal is to do what you just said, Cormac, right? Which is like how to build on strengths, how to build each other up, how to be the best version of what it can be, and like start with the end in mind, so that it's not like this thing that you had to go through at the very end, which sounds pretty terrible.
It was only because I would have loved to have had the opportunity to explain to them how kind of their own individual behaviors affected the team, how their lack of communication or communication, depending on the team, affected the outcome, and how this is going to be something that the way that you carry yourself as a person on a team, whether it's a team of 1 or a team of 10, is going to lead to the success of the project. Because that ultimately, that's what we're looking for, is the success of the project. We are trying to do good work. And if you're going to be an a-hole about it, you're not going to do good work. I mean, even where you kind of started this out, when you talk about what they're getting graded on, it's like, yeah, your performance matters. And at the same time, what really matters is the level of completeness that the project comes in at, that meets, right? Like, that's what they're getting judged on. And I think it's really hard, especially, I mean, it's hard for professionals to do this, let alone students, but is to like remove themselves and their traits from that equation, right? Because it's like you said, the client wants the project done. They don't care how it gets done, right? I'm sure they do want a lovely interaction with people throughout the entire process. Of course, that would be better. It's not like you want the dictator who's just an a-hole to everybody and just forces this amazing project out, right? Like, that's still a crappy process. So it's not all about that, but at the same time, like it's like there is a level of separation between the individuals who accomplish the task and the actual task that was accomplished. Yep.
So what did you learn through this whole process? I mean, you all of a sudden are in this situation where you've got to, like you said, you wish that you got to deliver those messages kind of maybe on a more personal level to like complete the cycle, right? But at the same time, like I'm sure it was like a lot for you to take on and go through this. Like, you're learning this stuff for the first time now.
So I know that there's a lot of things that I will do differently the next time around, the next opportunity to teach.
And improve, right?
Iterate and improve. The thing that interestingly, I've learned that I can translate back to the profession is making sure that you have clear communication of expectations. because here is a bunch of students who didn't really know what we're asking them to do. I mean, yes, they've been introduced to what a floor plan is and what a building elevation or a building section or a wall section are. But when we're asking them to do all of this stuff as a composite, as essentially a design development type exercise, and it's an exercise that's a team-based thing, clarity of communication, clarity of expectations is key. And I've learned that I'm okay at it sometimes, and I could be improving other times, and sometimes I'm even really good at it. But I think that I for me personally, I took away is like, I need to change my consistency of how I communicate so that there is no questions, so that everybody understands and is clear in what they're actually doing. And so being able to do it at a level where they don't know what they don't know, because we talk about that all the time, and being able to like really explain to them what their expectations are. If I can successfully do that at like the student level, I should be able to successfully do that and should do that at the professional level, right? Because now you're dealing with trained professionals.
Right.
So it's something that like I've learned how to better communicate. I've also learned that I probably need to increase my professionalism in front of students. I'm still, still trying to crack the jokes.
I mean, you want to have fun. You want to have a fun environment for sure. I mean, I think if it's, wow, I mean, it depends on the course, right? But you're in a creative situation. You want people to be at ease in that situation, right?
Yeah.
And so that they can be receptive to what's going on. And at the same time, the stakes are high and you expect a level of professional output and all of these things. So it's like achieving that balance. But I don't know, jokes aren't bad. I mean, why did you get bad? Did you get feedback that said that you?
I haven't yet.
You were the class clown.
Yeah, I haven't yet. I'm sure I will. No, I always try to break the tension with a little bit of humor, just because the profession is hard enough as it is. And for us to try to just like ease that tension, I'm here for the jokes.
Yeah.
I'm here for the jokes.
I'm here for the jokes. Well, so what's your plan moving forward with this? Are you going to be teaching more, or what's the next?
So I'm hoping, at the very least, I think I'm going to be doing the same studio next fall. I don't have anything coming up for the current semester, only because I was actually a late add to last fall. They had already started to fill all of the teachers for this coming semester. And so I hadn't been there. I hadn't been tested out and all that other stuff. So as long as they want me back, I think, our pal wants me back. And
you were a good teammate. You were a good team member.
I hope so.
Pulled your weight.
I feel like I was.
Nice.
Again, I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from my fellow instructors.
And the students, I bet.
And the students. All of them are like Kurt and Mark, both of my fellow instructors. They very much have done this before and kind of have gotten into a good rhythm. And here I am, the new guy, just kind of like fitting in. I felt like I brought some good ideas of how to kind of like align it a little bit differently than they had done in the past. And all I can say is that there's room for improvement, but I think that I feel like I have earned that opportunity to do that.
I'm just smiling because you just gave yourself a review.
Yeah. No, I had to give myself a review at the end of the year, and then I had to review others. I did do like 4 peer reviews. God, those are hard.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yep.
So it came at a good time when you're reviewing somebody, and you're also grading, because now you're learning how to like do that. You're almost, like I said, you're grading a class, or you're grading a colleague. Tough stuff, man.
You just got to put yourself in a completely different mindset. It's like a mode of work.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a different.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
It is. It is. It's all joking aside. Let's talk about like your actual performance. Let's be clear about it. I also wanted to make sure that if this is anything that is new information that may not have been discussed in the past, where I'm coming from and where we as a team can improve on it. I don't want them to like come to the end of the year and like have never heard that, Evan, wears black glasses. He should have, as a team player, he should wear red glasses like everybody else. And you're like, wait, this is the first time I've heard you say that I
didn't get the uniform memo.
Exactly. But no, it's interesting.
Cool. The adventure continues.
Yep.
Well, welcome to 2025. I'm sure we all have a lot of work to do. Here it is.
It's here. It's upon us.
I hear the world's ending, in a couple of weeks, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll just keep our head up and duck.
Can't be worse than what we've already been through. So I say that, but it's also not true. It totally could. We'll see. It's kind of interesting to be on the sidelines as the world is changing. Right? Basically, this is what do they say? It's like we're going to change the tablecloth without taking the setting off the table. See what happens. Good luck.
That's where the magic happens, right?
That's where very well could be magic. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.